you very much, Savio. And before I come here, my biomedical engineering colleagues tell me you better do a good talk and actually tell people what biomedical engineering is all about. And so today I'm going to talk to you about ultrasound. And I've been involved with ultrasound, as Dr. Wu has mentioned, for more than 40 years. So I think I have a unique perspective to tell you what ultrasound evolved in the past 40 to 50 years. And it's actually a very good example of biomedical engineering contribution to healthcare. So today I'm going to talk about ultrasound in the past, and as I'm getting older, fairly old, and I would like to talk about history, and that is the past, and I will look at the present state of art in ultrasound, including diagnostic ultrasound and therapeutical ultrasound. It happens that tomorrow's plenary lecture actually is going to be on therapeutical ultrasound. And I'll look into the crystal ball and to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen in the future, in my opinion. Okay, so diagnostic ultrasound is one of the 4 major medical imaging modalities that have been used very often around the world. Of course, the first is X-ray. I'm sure you're familiar with X-ray. And that actually includes computed tomography, CT, nuclear imaging, that includes single photon emission computed tomography, and PET, positron emission tomography, and then ultrasound and magnetic resonance imaging and optical imaging. That's a newcomer. So, since President Yu mentioned that my talk is supposed to be related to translational work, so I want to mention to you who are major players in medical imaging in ultrasound. Of course, you are all familiar with all these giant companies: GE, Siemens, Philips, Toshiba, 2 Japanese companies, Hitachi and Mindray. Actually, that's an upcoming Chinese company, which is very strong in CT and in ultrasonic imaging as well. And major companies in diagnostic ultrasound, of course, GE, Siemens, Philips, Toshiba, Hitachi actually bought Aloka, which was a very prominent ultrasound imaging company as well, in medicine, that was purchased by Samsung. Isaoli is an Italian company. Sonosite was American company, and then was purchased by Fuji. Now it's a Japanese company. And Zonari used to be an American company, is purchased by Mindray, the Chinese company. Ultrasonics used to be a Canadian company, now it's purchased by American company, Analogic. So it's difficult to figure out the nationality of these companies anymore. And Verisonics, Mindray, and that's a Chinese company, Sonoscape, and Landwing. Later on in my talk, I'm going to tell you the Taiwanese companies that are involved in medical ultrasound. And these 2 companies, Verisonics and Analogic, actually produce so-called ultrasound engines. That is, it's a heart of ultrasound machine, and you can hook any transducers and whatever to this heart, and you can do your own programming, algorithm development, so forth. So it's very flexible, and it's becoming very popular. Now there's a Taiwanese company which is called S-Sharp. That is also making an impact in this particular area. And the most, I think, trendy thing to do now in diagnostic ultrasound is to develop hand-carried ultrasound HCU that is very small, very portable, and so the physicians can carry it around just like a stethoscope. And so the major players are GE, Sonosite, Zoneri, and Bard, Medison, and Terrason. Actually, this is a company very interesting because it was founded by a person from Taiwan, actually. And she later worked at MIT Lincoln Lab, and then he left Lincoln Lab and formed this company. So, definition of hand-carried ultrasound unit is that it has to be less than 11 pounds. Ultrasound, of course, I want to tell a little bit of physics, okay? So please bear with me. Ultrasound uses this idea of pulse echo, just like sonar. You send out ultrasound pulse, and you try to listen to the sound bounce back from a certain object. Ultrasound differs from sound, basically in frequency. Frequency is much higher. It's higher than the audible range, so you cannot hear it. And it's very different from a traditional X-ray that uses transmission imaging or projection imaging. And it can survive in this competitive world. There must be reasons. Okay, one of the reasons is it's non-invasive, does not use ionizing radiation, and it can capture images in real time. And it's cheaper, of course, and it's portable, mission ready, and it has a better performance in soft tissue differentiation, better than X-ray. Of course, it's not as probably worse than MR. And the frequency of conventional ultrasound machines goes from 2.5 to 15 megahertz, means million cycles per second. Okay, and velocity is 1500 meter per second. The reason I want to mention that is the wavelength is very important in a wave-based imaging system. The wavelength actually determines the spatial resolution, the ability for this capability of this imaging system to differentiate small objects. So the smaller the wavelength, the better the spatial resolution. So at 5 megahertz, and the wavelength is 300 microns. In other words, at 5 megahertz for clinical scanners, the spatial resolution is about 300 micron. So you can identify object as small as 300 micron. So the idea is, as I mentioned, is fairly simple. You have a device that's called transducer that converts electrical energy into acoustic energy and vice versa. And suppose you have an object located in a water bath. Water is very important in this case. It serves as a coupling medium between the transducer and the body. So if you want to do this kind of examination in air, then you have to use aqueous medium as the coupling medium, and like gel. And so suppose you have a skin surface over here and a tissue over here, an organ over here. You send pulse of ultrasound into the tissue, you get echoes, the transmitted pulse to return the echo from the skin surface, an echo from organ surface, and small signals scattered by tissues, structures over here, and they can build this echo amplitude as a function of time. Okay, and the time then is related to distance divided by c, right? Time going from transducer to the surface and come back, and you divide it by some speed in the tissue. You can actually distance of this reflector from the tissue. That's the principle of ultrasound. Very straightforward. And from the echo amplitude, you can tell the nature of the organ and so forth. For instance, if you have a flat reflector, echo is huge. If you have a smaller echo, a smaller object, echo is small. Okay? So instead of displaying the signal like this, which is called A mode, amplitude mode, you can display like this, brightness mode, B mode, and use the grayscale to represent amplitude of the signal and so forth. So that's very simple review of the physical principle involved. A unique feature of ultrasound is that it's capable of measuring blood flow. Doppler principle is you have a transducer over here, and you have blood flowing in a vessel, and this vessel, this blood flow is direction is making an angle of theta relative to the beam, ultrasound beam, and because this blood is flowing, so there is a frequency shift from the blood, in this case is serving as a reflector. So this frequency shift can be detected by the same transducer, and from this Doppler frequency shift, actually you can measure blood flow. That's a very unique capability. Okay, now what has happened in the past? Okay. How ultrasound has been evolving. And it actually happened after WW2, that is in late 1940s and early 1950s. And these are pioneers in this particular field, Americans and the Japanese, who are credited for doing Doppler ultrasound, and these two gentlemen in Sweden, they are credited for developing echocardiography. Okay, so this ultrasound scanner in the early days. Okay, so you can see it's very crude, and the patient has to be sitting in a water tank. If you want to scan the neck, you have to do it like this, or if you want to scan the whole area, you have to do it like this. And this is a type of image you can obtain. Okay, the reason I want to show it is you can appreciate the difference of the images acquired 40, 50 years ago and the images acquired by state-of-the-art machine now. And these two are two pioneers. The reason I want to show their photo is that Dr. Jed Reed was a faculty at the University of Washington. So he was one of my thesis advisors. Nobody in working in ultrasound actually has won Nobel Prize. Okay? People working on X-ray has won Nobel Prize. People working on MR has won Nobel Prize, but nobody in ultrasound has been able to won a Nobel Prize. But this person, John Wild, is a physician. He did won the Japan Prize in 1991. The prize, the award is $500,000. Unfortunately, he did not share a penny with my advisor. Obviously, you can tell he's very upset. And I guess to this day, for engineer, Jack is engineer, John is a physician. I think somehow biomedical engineers still are at a disadvantage. Okay? I hope this advantage, this unbalance can be changed sooner or later. Okay? And this, again, an image acquired at the time. Can you tell what this image is all about? Unless you are an ultrasound radiologist, you probably can't. Okay. And this is actually an image of the kidney. You look at this kidney over here, and this part of the liver, and this pyramid kidney. Okay? After I told you, you probably think, hey, yes, it does look like a kidney, right? And so the image has improved over the years, and this is an early version of the linear array, and you can see the image. This actually is a fetal head. Okay. Now, at present, ultrasound, in terms of number of procedures performed, is next only to X-ray, conventional X-ray. Okay, and it's very useful in monitoring pregnancy and heart. I'm sure ultrasound has played a part in your family or in your friends in their lives, and it has limited use in diagnosing lung, bone, and so forth. That's because bone and air it's very difficult for ultrasound to transmit through this medium. Okay, that's a typical ultrasound scanner. I'm sure you have seen it. And you can see the patients being scanned. And again, I have to tell you that you have to apply some sort of coupling gel to the surface before you do your card image. Okay, this is a state-of-the-art ultrasound image, and you place the probe on the surface of the skin. And right now, scanning is done electronically. You sweep the beam from one end to the other end to form an image. So the imaging rate is very fast, faster than 30 frames per second. So you can acquire, let's say, images like this. This is a breast image, okay, and it shows a very complex tumor cyst over here, okay. Now, even for a layman like you can tell, hey, this look like something I can appreciate, okay. And this actually shows you the contrast between ultrasound and MR. And this is a breast. You tell there's a lesion over here, okay, and that's an ultrasound. If you think about it more carefully, you can certainly say that the ultrasound resolution probably is better than MR. The contrast probably is not as good, okay? Now this is a thyroid. Again, you can see that there's some sort of lesion over here. Thyroid in the neck. And this is the liver. You can see there are all kinds of tumors over here. That's a bad sign. And I want to show this to you is that now you can, because the frame rate is high, if you want to look at heart, you can actually monitor the motion of the heart. You can see the four chamber view of the heart, and you can observe the motion of the heart valves. Okay? So it's a very important clinical tool in cardiology. The other thing you can do is you can produce a map of the Doppler. That is a map of blood flow. And that's displayed in color. And combine this color map and with the B mode, you can obtain images like this. This umbilical cord. Showing over here, it has a bunch of vessels, so you can see this color images of these vessels. Very striking. And here is actually, you can do this in real time. And so you can see the motion of the blood flow and so forth. Okay, and if you increase the frequency slightly, you can see the frequency ranges from 5 to 12. So the center frequency is about 7, 8. You can see the tendon right here. Okay, now the in thing to do presently for any imaging modality is to do elastography. In other words, because if you are familiar with breast imaging, and you realize that some of the breast masses are palpable, you can feel it. But somehow, with any of these imaging modalities like MR, ultrasound, and so forth, you cannot see it on these images. So it's a tough problem. It's creating headaches for us imaging folks. Okay. So everybody is trying to solve this problem to do elastography. That is, you want to be able to image the elastic properties rather than just anatomy. Okay. So you have ultrasound elastography, and you have MR elastography, and so forth. You now even have OCT elastography. Okay. So the way to do it, there are all kinds of approaches that you can use to do elastography. One is that you can place your linear array probe, in this case transducer over here, you press it against the tissue to move the tissue beneath a little bit forward, so that then you can use some sort of signal processing schemes to track this movement. Okay? So again, the idea is very simple. In this commercial realization of this approach, this approach actually was developed almost 20 years ago. That tells you it's very difficult to develop any kind of medical methodology or medical device. It takes years, okay? This takes more than 20 years before it's finally became actually a medical diagnostic imaging option. It is a Siemens rendition of this approach. You can see this breast over here, okay? And this is a tumor. Here, the color displays the rigidity, deformability of the tissue rather than anatomy, okay? So there's another approach which is called acoustic radiation force imaging. That is, the force is generated by this acoustic wave or optical wave, EM wave, and so forth. And if you crank up the power, and the power is large enough to actually to move the tissue forward, okay? So in other words, this is an improvement. Now you don't have to use an external device to press the tissue and so forth. Now you use ultrasound alone for imaging and for deformation displacement. Okay, so that's what you can do here. You produce ultrasound beam, higher intensity, higher energy level to push the tissue forward. Then you turn off the pushing beam and you turn on the sensing beam to monitor the displacement tissue. Okay, so that's an advancement over static elastography, and this kind of image you can produce, and it's actually very interesting that is this lesion in the beam mode, conventional ultrasound, it's almost invisible. However, in this elastography, RF, and it's very, very apparent. Okay, so that tells you the usefulness of these approaches. So these kind of options are now all available in high-end ultrasonic imaging systems. And now 3D imaging, and I'm sure some of you have seen this kind of images before, but the improvement that has been made is that they colored this image to allow it to look like real. You're looking at these fetus in a real environment. Actually, it's not. It's the pseudo coloring and so forth. It's just make the image look more realistic. Okay, so we can see this. It's a twin over here. Okay. These are done basically by collecting multiple slices of image, and you can do it. You can do the reconstruction offline. And to go one step further, what you can do is you can collect 3D images in real time. That's called 4D cardiac imaging. You can see. Hope you see it. You can see the movement of the heart valve and so forth in real time. Okay. And then you can see that you can do it with color Doppler as well. Not only you can see anatomy, the motion of the anatomy in 3D, you can also monitor cardiac flow in 3D. So if you increase the frequency then of the sound wave, high frequency, say you go from 15 megahertz to 30, 40 megahertz, and the resolution becomes better. Now you can look at the eye, okay? So you can see that you can use ultrasound to look at the eye. And this is when you turn on the light, you can see the opening of the pupil. And if you turn the lights off, you can see the opening of the pupil. And when you turn the lights on, you can see shrinking of the pupil. Okay. So just mention this to you to tell you that indeed ultrasound, high frequency ultrasound can play a role in ophthalmology, but really it's no competition as far as ophthalmological imaging is concerned. OCT is much better. Okay, so next thing I want to mention is ultrasonic contrast agent. That's air bubbles. Air bubbles are very good contrast agents. In other words, reflects or scatters more sound and so forth. And there are commercial products for doing that as well. And so if you inject this contrast agent, you can see that and the image, the lesion becomes more apparent than without contrast agent. The reason I want to mention this is that there are other applications of ultrasonic contrast agents, okay? And what you can do is to use these contrast agents as carriers of drugs, okay? Now we're dealing with therapy now. Carry the drugs to a certain site, in this case, the capillary, okay? Capillary actually blocks the movement of this contrast agent or air bubble, and you can use ultrasound to zap it, to break it, to release the cargo to this site where the capillary vessels are. Okay, or you can see that when air bubbles are flowing in a certain region, okay, and you want these bubbles to release the cargo, and then you can use ultrasound to break them as well. And here is more advanced, that you can attach some sort of ligand to this bubble, so this bubble will attach to the interstitial surface of the blood vessel. Okay, and then you break up air bubble. Okay, now future. And as I mentioned already, in the future, I'm sure you're going to see very small portable ultrasound scanners, and the scanners will become wireless. And photoacoustics, I'm not going to mention over here, and multimodality imaging, combine ultrasound with MR and CT and so forth, and also high frequency ultrasound. And this is a scanner introduced by VisualSonics, Vivo 2100. It has been used for clinical, preclinical imaging, that is imaging small animals, but now people are trying to push it for pediatric imaging. Okay, and it has this version, Vivo MD, but it's not approved by FDA yet. I'm sure it's going to be approved very soon. Okay, so this is a GE portable scanner. You see that there's a phase array, the color Doppler and so forth, the size of the iPod, and I think the weight is about 390 grams. Okay, and this is a Siemens wireless transducer. It's a transducer over here. There's no wire connecting transducer and the console wire, because you have so many cables in there, and sometimes it becomes very troublesome, cumbersome, so you want to eliminate wire. And this is a Siemens version of this kind of approach. And wireless transmission frequency is 8.7 gigahertz. Okay, and this shows you that if you increase the frequency and say 30, 40 megahertz, you can actually look at superficial vein and see the blood flowing vein and the venous valves. Okay. Okay, now I want to turn my attention to therapeutic ultrasound. And the reason I want to talk about this is that all of a sudden, recently, there's a huge interest in doing therapeutic ultrasound. And the reason for that is it has been shown that ultrasound can disrupt blood-brain barrier. Okay, and that's actually the next plenary talk is all about. Okay, and it's been used to. It's going to be extremely useful for treating brain tumor. Okay, because this problem with the blood-brain barrier, some of the drugs like this doxorubicin, which has been proven to be very active in treating this glioma in the in vitro environment, but it cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. Okay, so what you can do is you can zap the vessel with ultrasound at a certain intensity level to allow this blood-brain barrier to open for a period of time, to allow the drug to go into to the tumor. Okay, so the exposure involves something like this. The pulse is 10 milliseconds long, and with pressure amplitude less than 1 megapascal. As measure of pressure, atmospheric pressure is only 0.1 megapascal. Okay, and this exposure is used for 20 to 30 seconds, and you repeat once every second, and it has been demonstrated effective in disruption of the so far it's on animals. Okay, if you inject contrast agent, air bubble force, and you can actually reduce pressure intensity level. So this is a cartoon showing you how this is done. So you have drugs flowing in the capillary, and you zap this portion of the capillary with ultrasound, high focus ultrasound, FUS, and that will allow this drugs to diffuse into the surrounding tissues. So, and the safety has been shown as well. And if you are interested in this subject, you look at this review paper. And another thing which is of interest is that actually the work, there's a group at NHRI. President Yu mentioned that in the beginning of his talk. They have been working on the same project, that is use MR machine to guide ultrasound treatment. Okay, it is a commercial device, and it has been approved by FDA to treat uterine fibroids. And another exciting news is that FDA has approved the first MR guided focus ultrasound device to treat essential tremor, okay, neural disorder. So this is something fairly new, okay, and because I think the next century is the brain century, so treating a neural disorder is anything to do. And this is actually data published by non-profit organization, which is a Focus Ultrasound Foundation. It shows there are 471 sites around the world. Actually, I'm sure Dr. Wei's group is counted as part of the Asia group. Okay, and I want to mention you, that is Dr. Chen Qinxin here, who is associate investigator at NHRI. He's investigator at the Institute of Biomedical Engineering and Nanomedicine. And he has actually been working on this focus ultrasound approach for, I guess, quite a few years. And so I hope that he's going to be able to continue his work along this area in terms of studying the ultrasound effects on central and peripheral nerves. Now, ultrasound companies in Taiwan. Rosa, very successful company for selling ultrasound transducers. Actually, it was started by one of my PhD students. So this company is very profitable, and I'm very proud of its performance. And this is scanners, portable scanner developed by BenQ. I'm sure many of you know this company. And this is a spin-off, again mentioned by President Yu, started by Dr. Zhang Su, and again, one of my students, Guo Yiyuan. He is now, I think, one of the founders of this company, Episonica, and that is trying to develop MR-guided HIFU. Okay, and actually the work was started here at NHRI, and they're also trying to develop a breast scanner. Okay, and this is another company that's trying to sell ultrasound contrast agents, started by a professor at Tsinghua University. And as Sharp, as I mentioned, is an ultrasound engine company, and it's started by Professor Li Baiqi at National Taiwan University. So you can tell there are people in Taiwan who are trying to make it a go in ultrasound imaging business or therapeutic ultrasound business. And this is actually a very new thing. Okay, the cosmetic ultrasound. You probably don't believe that. Ultrasound is playing a role in cosmetic surgery. Okay, and the reason I become aware of this is that I'm living in LA. I'm watching TV. I always see this commercial from all these cosmetic surgeons. Hey, we have this fantastic device that can smooth wrinkles and so forth. And I look, my goodness, it's this ultrasound company. Okay, and it's only FDA approved. So and I checked, I Googled it in Taiwan. There are again many companies, many cosmetic surgeons are trying to use this device. Okay, the reason you can use it that you can use ultrasound to increase the temperature to somewhere between 60 and 70, and you can destroy collagen and to make it regrow. Okay, that's the principle involved. And this device actually allows you not only to destroy the collagen, it also allows you to image the growth of the collagen. So it serves dual purposes. And the design of the transducer is very unique as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Taking too long a time over here. Just basically want to tell you the ultrasound, even though it's a mature technology, but it's still growing. Another thing is that because the technology of ultrasound is not that high-end or high-tech and so forth. So it's an entry point for very many development companies into the medical device industry. But I want to caution you that this is a therapeutic machine, cosmetic machine. Again, it takes more than 20 years to become to obtain its success today. Okay, so it's a long road, but the technology is really not that high tech, and so that's the difference between, let's say, cell phone and other high tech devices. So biomedical device is low tech, but it takes a long road to make it a success. Thank you very much.